Dear Mr. Matt, absolutely spot-on article by Chris Jackson. And I can say this having been pregnant at 16 in the 1980s. My parents were completely and utterly heartbroken, but lovingly and with much healthy shame sent me to a Catholic maternity home run by nuns where I continued school. Now I shudder to think that they would have thought so little of me, my unborn child, which was later placed for adoption, and yes, themselves and others, if they, or I, would have wished to draw attention to myself and to my sin by even keeping me in school in my hometown, much less encouraging me or allowing me to walk at graduation while pregnant. And what a terrible example for the Church, Christ, and for His blessed, immaculate, pure Mother Mary, as was so beautifully stated in this article. So thank you for this article. May God reward you. Sincerely, Kim. And I withhold her last name. But thank you, Kim. God is so good and merciful to all of us poor sinners. And what a shame it is that the Catholic Church is now apologizing for the good work of those same nuns you here in your letter credit with having done so much to help you through this tough period of your life. Check this out.
Some people called it baby snatching. And today, the Catholic Church has apologised for its forced adoption policy of the 1950s, 60s and 70s, when 150,000 Australian women, mainly single mothers, were made to hand over their babies to parents deemed more suitable. The apology has been prompted by an investigation by an ABC reporter and also by a Senate inquiry. Reporter Jane Margetts is in Newcastle on the mid-coast of New South Wales. So, Jane, what did the Catholic Church say today?
Well, Ros, Catholic Health Australia has this morning apologised to the mothers, fathers and children who fell victim to this forced adoption policy of the 50s, 60s and 70s. It's acknowledged what it calls the ongoing devastating impact that it's had on these people, and it's admitted that the practice of forced adoption was widespread in maternity hospitals across Australia. Catholic Health was keen to point out, of course, though, that this policy is no longer tolerated under today's law, and it says that it's offering support for the women who are affected in the form of counselling and also in the form of helping them get access to medical records so that they can discover more about the truth of what happened to them. Now, here's a little of what Martin Laverty from Catholic Health Australia had to say to me this morning.
It was a common practice that was thought to be in the best interest of mother and child, where a young mother without husband, that the child be placed in adoption for the best interests of mother, for the best interests of the child. Today we recognise that those practices were misguided. Today we recognise those practices caused ongoing pain and suffering to mothers, to children and to families.
Now, they also say that during this whole process they were convinced, or persuaded, should I say, that this was the best thing for them and this was the best thing for their children. And many of the children, of course, were adopted out to married couples who at the time were deemed to be more suitable parents.
And Jane, what's been the reaction to the apology from the women and the families affected briefly?
Well, I think it's important to bear in mind many of these women say they will never get over what happened to them. More than 50% of them didn't go on to have any more children, and they say now that, quite frankly, they're insulted by the apology. What they want is compensation. What they want is legal action to be...
So all the folks who were adopted and not aborted in those years were dealt a bad hand somehow? All the mothers who, out of incredible love and self-sacrifice, decided to give their children up for adoption were somehow misguided victims of forced adoption? Really? How dare we judge them now? And I wonder when the state hospitals around the world and administrators are going to start apologizing to the countless women they traumatized over the past quarter century and the lives they terminated through forced abortion of those who were unwanted, those unwanted babies. The adopted babies of the past that the Catholic Church took care of, they seem to have gotten a little better deal, right? They got life, they were wanted, and they were loved. And how dare anyone apologize for what the church did to help those mothers and those children who they helped put up for adoption. What a world. Again, Michael Matt down in the catacombs. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.